Foundational theoretical physics hasn't produced a single major, testable breakthrough in over half a century. We are completely stuck. The symptoms of this stagnation are glaring. Quantum gravity research has spanned 50 years without offering a single falsifiable prediction. Meanwhile, the celebrated Standard Model requires 19 independent free parameters, values that must be manually tuned to make the equations match experimental data. In his framework, one field theory, physicist Gareth Davies diagnoses this condition not as rigorous science, but as rigor mortis. Theoretical physics has suffered the literal death of physical intuition, paralyzed by an obsession with strict mathematical formalism. The discipline inverted its own scientific method. Instead of observing physical reality and developing math to describe it, the field began starting with beautiful mathematical structures and assuming physical reality would naturally follow. This illustration captures the current reality. If we fail to separate abstract mathematical models from actual physical mechanisms, the entire discipline will remain trapped inside an unnavigable maze. To understand how we got lost, we have to define a mathematical isomorphism. In physics, an isomorphism is a framework that successfully models and predicts observable patterns. It produces the correct numbers, but it does not guarantee that the underlying math represents physical reality. This is entirely different from a physical ontology. An ontology requires a concrete, mechanical explanation of what the universe is actually made of, and the physical processes driving how it operates. We have made this mistake before. Ptolemy's geocentric model of the solar system used highly complex mathematics called epicycles to predict planetary movements with remarkable precision. The math worked perfectly, but the physical reality, that the Earth was stationary at the center of the universe, was entirely false. Modern science has developed what Davies calls idiopathic physics. We use complex Latinate mathematical labels, like wave-particle duality or spontaneous symmetry breaking, to describe phenomena. We then treat those descriptive labels as explanations, masking the fact that we have absolutely zero understanding of the underlying physical mechanisms. A highly accurate prediction is a useful tool, but it is a poor substitute for a mechanical explanation. Accepting mathematical precision as the final goal is the exact error that killed theoretical progress. The origin of this error can be traced to the misinterpretation of brilliant mathematics. In 1918, mathematician Emmy Noether published a foundational theorem establishing a direct connection between continuous mathematical symmetries and physical conservation laws. Today, modern textbooks teach this relationship backwards. They instruct students that mathematical symmetries literally cause physical conservation laws to exist. For example, they claim that time translation symmetry is the direct cause of the conservation of energy. But Noether proved a correspondence mapping, not a causal direction. Her theorem shows that if a symmetry exists, a conservation law exists, and vice versa. It does not state which creates the other. Davies calls this the Noether inversion. The actual cause of the conservation law is the physical stability of the universe. The mathematical symmetry is merely our post hoc description of that physical reality. Mathematics is a language used to record reality. When the physics community began treating math as prescriptive, believing the equations were dictating reality rather than describing it, they derailed a trajectory of 20th century physics. We can visualize this hierarchy using an epistemic ladder. Knowledge must be built from the ground up, starting with the physical ground truth at the bottom and ascending to pure mathematical abstraction at the top. In 1939, physicist Eugene Wigner published a highly influential paper using the Poincaré group, a specific set of mathematical symmetries, to successfully classify the properties of particles. Wigner provided a brilliant categorization, but the physics community committed a fatal error. They took Wigner's highly abstract mathematical representation from the top of the ladder and shoved it into the foundational level, declaring that a physical particle literally is a mathematical representation. Answering the physical question of what is a particle with a mathematical taxonomy is technically accurate, but mechanistically useless. It is like asking how a car engine works and being handed a spreadsheet of its aerodynamic coefficients. When you define physical reality entirely as mathematics, it becomes impossible to ask structural questions about how things actually work. The abstraction becomes the reality, permanently locking physicists inside the math trap. We fall into this trap because we trust our measurements implicitly. But even our most baseline observations of reality are highly constructed inferences, not objective physical measurements. Look closely at this image of a plate of strawberries. Your visual system immediately measures and identifies a vivid red color across the fruit. The physical truth is that there are 0 red pixels in this image. Your brain is inferring the presence of red based on the cyan lighting context and your memory of what strawberries should look like. The same biological inference happens in this image. It contains only blue, black, and white pixels, yet the context of the grading forces your visual channels to construct a bright yellow sunflower where no yellow light actually exists. Just as human vision constructs color from context, our mathematical frameworks construct discrete particles out of continuous fields. What we measure as a physical particle is often just a consequence of the mathematical tool we are using, not an accurate reflection of the territory itself. One field theory offers a physical exit. It rehabilitates the vacuum as a dynamic, polarisable medium with measurable physical properties. In this framework, the vacuum is not empty geometry. Consequently, impossible zero-dimensional point particles do not exist. There are only continuous electromagnetic waves propagating through this fluid medium. Physical matter forms when these waves tie themselves into stable, self-confined topological knots, known as solitons or monopolons. This mechanical structure eliminates mathematical workarounds like the Higgs field. Mass is simply the physical drag this knotted energy encounters as it displaces the surrounding vacuum. By acknowledging that the vacuum has actual physical properties, deeply paradoxical quantum behaviors dissolve. They cease being mathematical mysteries and become easily understandable mechanical processes. This mechanics-first approach also challenges the standard geometrical abstraction of gravity. We must discard the pedagogical metaphor of heavy planets bending a rubber sheet of empty spacetime. Instead, gravity has a tangible mechanism. Massive objects polarize the vacuum around them, creating a density gradient. This gradient physically slows the phase velocity of light, steering it exactly the way a glass lens bends a laser beam. Einstein's curved spacetime remains an incredibly accurate mathematical description of this exact refraction process. The math works flawlessly, but curved geometry is the description of the behavior, not the physical cause of it. While general relativity's mathematical framework is functionally perfect, its underlying ontology, the claim that empty geometry acts as a physical fabric that can bend, is a mathematical fiction. There is a strict rule in science regarding genuine understanding. It is irreversible. Once you discover the true physical mechanism behind a phenomenon, the old mathematical workarounds instantly look absurd, and the truth cannot be unseen. Shifting from curved spacetime to vacuum refraction is identical to abandoning the chaos of epicycles for a clean heliocentric solar system. Theoretical physics faces a clear mandate. The discipline must abandon the pursuit of beautiful mathematics as the starting point for understanding the universe. The only valid path forward is to strictly observe what physical reality is actually doing at the mechanical level, and then painstakingly build the mathematics to describe that specific reality. The math trap has no internal exit. We cannot calculate our way out. We must physically walk out.